All right. First thing we need to look at is a frequency table. Okay. Frequency table is used to group data values into intervals okay, and then we have to talk about frequency. Now, I'm going to give you some numbers. I'm trying to, hang on here, let me find a set that is not quite as large as some of the ones I've been looking at. Okay, let's just do one of these. All right, I'm going to make up my own real quick here. Let's just write these numbers down. 3, 4, 9, 8, All right, we have 3, 4, 8, 9, 3, 4, 9, 8, 10, 12, 14, 11, 14, 20, 22, 25, 28, 23, 26, 30, 32, 33, 31, okay? Now, doesn't matter what those numbers represent, okay? What I want to talk about is what is a frequency table, okay? If we talk about a frequency table, here's what it's going to look like. Now, understand, once you get into high school math and college math, a frequency table may take on a different meaning. Okay, it's similar, but it may take on just a little bit different meaning than the one you're doing now. It will still have intervals. But it won't be quite like the one you're doing now. Very similar, but it won't be exactly the same. So this is the base, the foundation of what a frequency table is, so later on you can do not really bigger and better ones. They're all always about the same. Okay? So a frequency table is simply this. It is going to be a table, okay, and it's going to have basically 3 sections. I need to make that a little bigger there. Okay, in these 3 sections are going to be the following: intervals, tally, and frequency. Okay, now, as we look at the data that I typed in here, okay, we have a range of data. We have a range from basically 33 to 3. Okay? That's a range of about 30. Okay? So what we have to do is we have to divide this data into groups that have the same amount of numbers. Okay? Let me give you an example. 3 to 6. Okay? 3 to 6 has how many numbers? Well, it has 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 4 numbers. Okay? So, if I was going to create another group that was right after 6, what would it be? Not include, obviously 6 is already included. 7 through, no, 7 through 10. Okay? If I was going to create another group, what would it be? 11 through 14. Okay? So what these are intervals. Okay? Now, for our particular group of data, you probably want more than 4 numbers in a group. Because if not, then you're going to have like 10 groups, and that's too many. You don't want to have 10 groups of numbers. Okay? You don't want to have 10 separate intervals in your frequency table. You usually want to have 6 to 7. Usually want to have 6 to 7 maximum number of intervals. Okay? In other words, you don't want to have too few. You don't want to have 1 or 2. Okay? We don't want to go 3 through 22 and then 23 through 33. Okay? You don't want to do that. But you also don't want to have too many. Obviously, you don't want to have 3 to 4, 5 to 6. That's obviously not it either. So you have to just come up with your own intervals. Sort of like the conclusions that we talked about yesterday. You can have your own intervals. In other words, everybody's not going to necessarily have exactly the same intervals for their frequency table. Okay? For this particular frequency table, we're probably better off, let's see, doing 5 numbers in each interval. Okay, that would give us 6 intervals. Okay, so let's see, yeah, it'll give us 6. So if we do 5 numbers in each interval, then our interval should be 3. So we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 3 to 7. That's our first interval. And so we're going to come up here and put 3 to 7. Okay, I may not have enough room if I write that big. All right, I may have to squeeze it down a little bit. Well, what I did is this. We said the range was about 30. And so I took and said, okay, if I want to have 6 intervals, then 6 goes into 30 5 times. So there needs to be about 5 numbers. Now, once again, you could have said, I only want 5 intervals. So you divide 5 into 30, goes 6 times. So there needs to be 6 numbers in each interval. Now, every interval has to have the same amount of numbers, except for the very last one. The very last one can have 1 or 2 more numbers than the rest of them, because obviously, in a second I'm going to show you. I'll show you in a second when we get down to it. Okay. So that I'm trying to come up. So if I had 40 numbers. Let's say I had 40 numbers, or I had a range of 40, okay? Well, if I want about 6 numbers per, or I want about 6 intervals, that would be 6 into 40 would be 36, okay? Well, that's going to leave me with quite a few at the end, so I might want to step it up to 7, okay? So that way it's just a judgment. There's no right or wrong answer. I can say, well, this is the way you do an interval. Okay, because it's going to be different for each form of data, depending on what your range is. If we only had a range of 10, in other words, every number was from 3 to 15, well, then you've got to narrow down your you've got to narrow down your intervals, okay? Most of the time, what you're going to do, the intervals are going to be given to you for what we're talking about today. Annie? They do not have to be in order. No, they do not. Now, and I'll show you here in a second why that's true. All right, let's do the next interval. The next interval is starting with 8. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller there so I can get them all in here. We're going to go 8, and it's going to go to 12. Okay? There's that. Whoops. Terrible line. Not real straight. All right. The next one then would be 13 to 17. Okay. The next one would be 18 to 22. I knew I was going to run out of room here. Next one is 23 to 27. Okay. And then the next one is 28 to 32 plus. Okay. That means there's a 33, right? Didn't I put a 33 on there? Yeah. There's a 33, and so we're going to go ahead and include that last interval has more than just 5, the 5 numbers, okay, or the 4 numbers. Matthew. I'm going to show you. We're getting there. You got to know what a frequency table is before I can get to the other part, okay? So let's go back up here to our numbers, and here's what you do. This is the easy part. I've got a 3. So 3 falls in this interval, so I put a tally mark. Okay? I've got a 4. Falls in there. I got a 9. Falls in there. I got an 8. Falls in there. I got a 10. Goes there. I got a 12. Goes there. 14. Goes in that interval. 11. Whoops, I got to go back up to that interval. 14 again, goes there. 20 goes here. 22 there. 25 here. 28 there. 23 there. Okay, so now, over here in my frequency, I just count up my tally marks. There's 2, there's 5, there's 2, 2, 3, and 5. Now, obviously, I need to extend mine down to where it actually has the last one in there. Okay, now, what we do with the frequency table is this. We create, with the frequency table, we can create a histogram. Okay? And that's what this section is really talking about, is a histogram. But, excuse me, but we obviously have to know what a frequency table is to be able to do a histogram. Okay? Now, a histogram is very similar to a bar graph in the way that it looks. Okay? A lot of the same things apply to a histogram. The bars have to be the same width. You have categories. You have, all that stuff. Okay? So, the parts of a histogram are the same. You have a title. Okay? You have categories, which are your intervals. Okay? you have a scale. Okay? You won't have a double histogram. Okay? You won't have a histogram that has two bars that mean two separate things. You won't have that usually. I haven't ever seen one. Maybe they have them out there, but I haven't ever seen one. So you don't need a key or a legend in a histogram. The fourth thing about a histogram that you need to understand is there is no space between the bars. Okay? There's no space between the bars. Now, let's look at doing a histogram with the data that we had there. I should have done this earlier. I'll put my grid lines up there. Should have done that earlier. I could have drawn some better straight lines than what I was drawing a while ago. Okay, so now let's look at how we do a histogram. Okay, first thing is this. We're going to draw a little box. I'm going to make sure, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got plenty. Let's see, 1, 2. Yeah, okay, that'll work. All right, now, we got a little box there. And here's what we're going to do with the box. We're going to take and put our first interval was 3 to 7, correct? Okay. So we're going to put 3 to 7 right there. Then I'm going to skip a line, and my next one was 8 to 12. Then I'm going to skip a line. I'm going to go 13 to 17. I'm going to skip a line and do 18 to 22. I'm going to skip a line and do 23 to 27. I'm going to skip a line and do 28 to 32 plus. Okay? This, your categories that we'd had on a bar graph, now become your intervals. Okay? Now, whatever this would be, let's say it's the number of cups of coffee you have in a month. Okay? So, then down here we would need to put cups of coffee. Huh? No, this is telling me what those intervals stand for. Better yet, we might want to say per month. Well, no, I'll just say coffee, cups of coffee. That'll work. Now, for our title, we're going to put cups of coffee I'll go with the past tense, drunk in a month. Okay? Now, on this side over here, where our scale is, this is where our frequency comes into play. Okay, what was our highest frequency? No. Listen to my question. 5. The highest, in other words, the frequency is the tally marks. Okay, so the highest one is 5. So I'm going to go 0. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have enough, so I got to go back the other way. That's what I was afraid of. So now I got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's your frequency. Now I just simply draw the bars. The first one we had was what? 2. So I'm going to come here at 2, draw a bar, make it down. So 8 to 12, how many do I have? 5. So I'm going to go right here, right next to it, and go up to 5 and come down. 13 to 17, 2. So right here, and come down. 18 to 22, 2. I had a lot of 2s. My intervals weren't very good. What's next? Okay, so I go up to 3. Okay, and last? Okay. And there you have your histogram. Okay. Now, for a lot of them, they're going to give you the frequency table. Okay, they're going to say, here's a frequency table, do a histogram of it. Okay, if they have, like I said, in this one we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars. Okay, now let's say this. Let's say that for some reason we didn't have any of the 18 to 22 range. Then we'd just simply take and erase and do that. Okay? So the only reason you have a space between your bars is because there was nothing in that interval. Okay? It means it's 0. Okay? So that's the only reason you would have a space in between your bars. Now, a lot of them, they're going to color them in like this, and, they're going to do something like that. That's fine if you want to do that. It's not necessary. But once again, it's just another visual way to display data. I mean, we can very obviously see that, some people have some real caffeine problems if this is cups of coffee per month. Okay, because, the majority of the people are at the 28 to 32 plus cups a month. Okay, that's like 1 a day. Okay, which there are a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of people. I used to work with a guy back when I was right out of college, or actually in college. I used to work with a guy. We worked at a place in the mall, and he would drink, the big Chick-fil-A cups. He would drink 4 of those a day of coffee. 4. And boy, he had bad breath, and no, he did. Well, his problem was he drank 4 of those, and he smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. So I'm not even sure if he's still alive at this point, doing that kind of stuff. But he was a little jittery when it'd come time to, because Chick-fil-A, we worked in the mall, and they'd always give the employees in the mall free drinks. So he chose to get free coffee. I don't know if it's free coffee or free drinks totally, but one of the two. All right, so that's a histogram. Now, everybody turn to page 132. All right. All right, let's look at number 1. Number 1 is a good question. It says, describe how a histogram differs from a bar graph. Okay, well, first of all, there's no space between the bars. Okay, that's the first thing you can list. Okay, the second thing is your categories in a histogram are always going to be numbers. Okay, so the second thing is the categories in a histogram are always numbers. The categories in a bar graph are most of the time like words, like music, for example, or movies. Okay, we did one with the movies where you had, comedies, action, romantic, they're words instead of numbers. Okay, so that's the 2 main differences. Okay, the third difference is the height of the bars. Okay, the height of the bars in a histogram are for frequencies, the number of times they occurred. Okay, the heights of the bar in a bar graph can either be numeric quantities, they could be medians, they could be lengths, they could be, a whole bunch of different things. Okay, so that's your three main ways that they differ. All right, now that a bar graph differs from a histogram. Okay, now number two, all you have to do is fill out that frequency table. They already have the intervals for you. Okay, so all you've got to do is copy that little table and then go through those numbers above it and put your tally marks and then find out the frequencies. Okay, now, when we get to number 4, okay, you're going to do 2 histograms. Okay, let me hang on here. Yeah, it was, yes, we are. Okay, we are going to do number 4. Okay, now, look over at number 6. Number 6 is different than 2 and 3. Number 6, they give you the table, but they've left out 2 of the intervals. So, you have to look at the intervals, okay? I'll just do that column where it says here, it has the column here. I'm not going to do the whole frequency table, I'm just going to look at this column. It has interval, okay, and then it has blank, then it has 19 to 21, then it has 22 to 24, then it has blank and a question mark. Okay, well 19 to 21 is how many numbers? 10. How many? 2, 19, 20, 21. It's 3. So, if I count back 3 from 19, that's 18, 17, 16. So 16 through 18 would be that interval. Okay? Now, your homework. Let's see here. We're going to do 1 through 4. This is 3.5. Going to do 1 through 4, 6 through 7, and then 27 and 28. That's it. All right, let's do tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow we won't have class. Because we got chapel tomorrow, and this is first week. So we skip tomorrow, so it'll be due Thursday.